Hey, so this is a response video to name that movement. I wanted to just mention a couple things. First, um, the idea that there's a catch-all phrase or term is kind of hard to think of something. But the one thing that I found that kind of is in relation to everything that all these different movements, for the most part, a lot of them are conflicting as to where we're headed. The one thing they all have in common is they're talking about a global or a planetary scale. Even the anti-civilization movement, they point to the planet and how we're not sustainable and how, I mean, look at Ishmael. It's a very planetary perspective. It's a very natural, more taking into account ecospheres as a whole, and all of that. So um, it's thinking ahead into the future. It's thinking planetary, and it's thinking globally. So I guess you can call it a holistic, planetary, global movement in which we are coming up with all these different ideas as to how to survive, whether we're against civilization or for a new kind of civilization, or for going just to space to survive. I mean, we're all looking for a new way to live, um, taking into the perspective the planet as a whole, and that's new. There never really has been a planetary perspective. We've had our relative myths and cultures and so on and so forth, but what we're developing, I think, now is a means to describe ourselves in relation to Earth as a whole. And we're doing it on a national political level, how our nation's going to get along without destroying each other. We're doing it on a religious level, has to do with culture, how our culture is going to get along with each other. And of course, scientifically, how are we going to survive the climate change? How are we affecting our environment? And how can we create a more sustainable civilization? So, I mean, from my camp, I guess, I wouldn't say I'm against civilization at all. I would say that civilization is in its very early stages where it hasn't learned to balance itself out. Um, so yeah, I guess I would. There's so many things you could probably bring up here, but I would call it, a planetary culture, or a global holistic system, a global civilization, because we're not going to survive um, being so provincial anymore, and we can't abandon civilization either. So we're faced with a third way, which is a new civilization, and that's sort of the category I think that everything falls under. How to think of things in a new way, how to live in a new way. And that may be partially going back to the old ways or learning from the old ways and creating a synthesis. But no matter what, it has to do with an emergent planetary civilization, an emergent global culture. Anyway, let me know what you think. Thanks for listening.